Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about de-escalation in the workplace. We're going to cover what is de-escalation, verbal de-escalation, the purpose, recognizing aggression, respecting your personal space, self-control, ways to keep calm, tone, and body language. So de-escalation refers to the use of techniques that can be used when confronted with violent or aggressive behavior. This includes verbal and nonverbal skills. The goal is to ensure that the safety of both the healthcare worker and the patient by addressing situations before they become serious. While violence can occur in any workplace or institution, it is important to note that it is 4 times more likely to occur in healthcare settings according to the U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Administration. So we're going to start off with some statistics. 6 in 10 healthcare workers have considered leaving their jobs or changing their profession entirely due to workplace violence, or instances where there's an altercation or there's an exchange of words or energy amongst the employer and the employee or amongst co-workers. 44% of healthcare workers reported experiencing physical violence at work. Now, this can be with co-workers because it does happen. This can also be with patients. So these reports were done by the American Heart Association. 68% reported being verbally abused. Now we know this happens more often than normal. So dealing with things like this at work can bring up other issues for us, like anxiety, self-doubt, negative thoughts, even depression. So what's the purpose of this training? What's the purpose of de-escalation or knowing how to deal with it? Well, to resolve conflict, for crisis resolution, diffusing situations. This can improve the overall well-being, and it can also reduce the decline in patient care quality, because what happens when you're frustrated, or when you're upset about something, or you get into an argument with someone, then you don't really want to do anything. Your motivation is not there to take care of the task you have at hand, or even to take care of your clients. This can also help improve job satisfaction. So when we are approached, or when we're in a situation where we have to think about defending ourselves, or we're accused of something, or we're in an argument, we immediately go into that fight or flight response, which is also known as the stress response. Because when we have to deal with something, and there's a disagreement, it does cause us some stress. So that's why it's also called a stress response. So this refers to the psychological reaction that occurs when we're in the presence of something that can be potentially mentally or physically terrifying. So there are 3 stages of this. The first stage is that alarm stage, when the amygdala is activated, which turns on that flight or fight and stores memories of the event. Not to get too sciencey here, but we're gonna talk about it just a little bit so that we can understand the process and what's going on with our body at that time, and maybe that can better help us to resolve conflict, if we're in a situation. The amygdala is activated, and which is the alarm of your brain, and it helps you to think about, and we talk about this process, but it happens really quickly, and it stores that information for a later event. And then the next stage is the resistance stage. This stage is when the body attempts to normalize or recover from the initial fight or flight response. So this is when it's the strongest. So your hippocampus regulates the memory and the emotions. So now you're going through those emotions and you're thinking, maybe I should just leave, or maybe I should just react. We have all kinds of thoughts that's going through our head. Then we go into the exhaustion, because anytime we're in a stressful situation, it can be draining. It's stress. It drains us. So then at the top, if you can see where it goes, the bottom, it goes from strong to weak. You activate that frontal cortex. So this part is when you're repeating time after time, you're repeating and trying to replay this stuff. Now you're thinking and you're trying to evaluate, like, okay, did this happen or did I do this? And it causes the body to break down and you get tired. And now you're thinking, okay, is everything okay? Like, what just happened? All kinds of things are going on. Your body's releasing these hormones. Your adrenaline's going and your cortisol levels are up. It releases these thoughts. Your blood pressure is increased. You start breathing hard. We don't think about this stuff, but this stuff is actually happening when you're in a situation where you have to think, should you try to diffuse the situation or should you react? And most of the time, a lot of us react and it ends up being, in a negative way. But we're going to go through the process to see what can we do when we are in these situations to kind of de-escalate it, so that we're not putting ourselves in these stressful situations and getting ourselves aroused and making our blood pressure go up if we can help it. So these are some of the signs, physical signs that we can look for. And you can be on the receiving end or you can be the one that's actually causing it. So, look for these signs of dilated pupils. In times of danger, the body prepares ourselves to beware, of our surroundings. So your pupils are dilated so that you can have a better visual of what's around you. Some of us might have pale or flushed skin, like your blood flow to the surface areas and may cause some redness. It flows to the muscles, and that's why your blood pressure is increased. Rapid heart and breathing, heartbeat and respiration is increased. Some of us may experience trembling, and your muscle tones become more active, and which can cause some trembling and shaking. So then we think about the pause. There are many different ways that we can talk about how to diffuse and de-escalate a situation. The first one is the pause, which is P stands for pay attention to body language and feelings. When you're talking to someone, you should always be aware of your surroundings and your situation. Pay attention to body language and feelings. The A is for assess what is activating me, what is provoking you. U is for understand. Understand the root of my feelings, or the root of that person's feelings, the root of the issue that we have right now. S is for set boundaries. Set boundaries and ensure safety. You have to have some healthy boundaries. E is for empathize with those involved. There's a few different acronyms that we can talk about. I just wanted to talk about this one, the pause, because there are many different ones that you can use. But we're actually going to go a little bit in depth, and we're going to go over 11 strategies for de-escalating. The first one, stay calm. If you're in a situation, you have to remember to stay calm. Remain professional at all costs. You have to think about, and although this goes fast, think about the end result. What do you want to happen at the end of the day? Always think about the end result. What do you want to happen at the end of the day? Think about the consequence. So make sure you stay calm. Number two, listen. Listen with empathy and have some compassion. Pay attention to the person's feelings, because you cannot tell someone how to feel. Only they know how they feel within that moment. So whether it's your coworker or your patient or your client, whatever term you use, you have to make sure that you are remaining professional, you're staying calm, and then number two, you're listening to whatever they're saying, because you have to give them a chance to get it out, okay? And then clarify messages. Use, if you're texting, use very clear communication. Make sure it's simple. And if there's something within the message that you think you're going to take a certain way, clarify it. Call them or maybe text them in a separate message. I know sometimes, jobs or employers may use like a group messaging system for all of their employees. Things can be easily, taken out of context when you're using, text messaging with a group of people. So always make sure that you clarify, because you don't want to misunderstand something. Redirection. If you are in a situation, make sure that you redirect the person back to whatever the original topic was, because sometimes we can talk and then we can lead away from the subject at hand, and then we're lost or somebody's lost. But if you find that you're going through something with someone and they're talking and then like, okay, you lost me, just kind of downplay the situation and redirect them back to the original topic, so that at the end of the day we can get to our end result. Be aware of nonverbal gestures. Watch body language and posture. Remember, this goes back to the therapeutic communication training that we had previously. Watch the body language, because body language can tell a lot about a situation. You're in a situation, you're talking to someone and they remain closed, they have their arms folded. Okay, that's telling me a different story. That's telling me that this is about to take a negative turn. But if they remain open, then that tells me that, okay, they're open to talking about this. So always be aware of those nonverbal gestures. If you find that you're feeling threatened in a situation, it is time to walk away. It is time to walk away, and maybe you need a mediator between you two. Verbal expressions. Pay attention to verbal expressions of frustration. Allow the individual to release that energy verbally. Whatever they have to say, let them say. Remember, this is words. These are words. If they're not putting their hands on you, that's something different. But this is words. Let them get everything that they need to say out. Let them get it out, because you will have your turn. If everything is not said, then how can you truly move on from a situation? Number 7, display support and stand open. You always want to make sure that you stand at least 2 to 3 feet away. I would say 3 to 5 feet away, but 3 feet away is fine, because you want to make sure you're not in their personal space. And number 8, maintain open, non-judgmental facial expressions. Be aware of non-verbal communication. You heard me talk about this before. This is probably the 3rd time in this training that I mentioned it. You have to make sure that you, I know for a lot of us it may be hard to control our facial expressions. You don't want to make anyone, you're already in a situation, you don't want to make things worse. So try your best to control your facial expressions. If someone else is talking and trying to get their point across, Try your best to keep a poker face. You may have to practice it. It sounds corny, but you do not. I don't know how many times I am sitting somewhere, and it could be in a lecture or something, and a friend of mine would say, "Ooh, it's showing all over your face." We don't know what our face is doing. So that's something that I have been trying my best to work on, and I've been practicing. So you may have to do the same, because you don't realize how much of your emotion you actually wear on your face. And I know as you listen to this, you're probably frowning right now, or you're probably smiling right now, because you know that it's true. How many times have somebody told you that, man, you look happy, or you can't hide your emotions, something like that. So we may have to practice, because you don't know what that person is going through, what that patient is going through. Even though you may not be thinking about them, but they might be like, yeah, she's laughing at me, or he's talking about me, or he think it's funny, or whatever. But it's really just us. We're probably thinking about something else, but we just have to make sure that we remain open to those suggestions, and try our best to control our facial expressions. Number 9, choose wisely what you insist upon, and allow time for decisions. In a nutshell, pick your battles. If we're talking about something, we're having a discussion, make sure you chose your words wisely, and decide what you want to react on. Number 10, avoid overreacting. Don't take anything personal. Confrontational situations can trigger many emotions, but you want to make sure you avoid overreacting, avoid yelling, because remember, you don't want them to do the same thing you're doing. Somebody has to listen. There has to be a resolution after this. So avoid reacting. Make sure that you are listening. Avoid yelling, because what will happen? If you yelling, then they will, 9 times out of 10, the other person will yell too. So make sure you do that. Set those limits. Control your emotions. And number 11, self-reflect and apologize. It is okay. It's okay to say, my bad. It's okay to say, you know what? I'm sorry. I overreacted. You know what? That's my fault. I was supposed to do X, Y, Z. I didn't get a chance to doing it. I'm sorry. It is okay to do that. Some people might think, I ain't apologizing. I'm not saying nothing, because I know I didn't do it, and I know I didn't mean it. But remember, the goal is to find and get to that end result. What do we want to accomplish? How do we want to be viewed? Because it does not matter how many times you say, I don't care what people think about me. Yeah, we say that, but actually we do. We do care what people think about us to a certain extent, and that's important to do so. There should be no judgment there. There should be no shame because you care what people think about you. It just depends on how it affects you. So it's okay to apologize. It's okay to own up to your mistakes and take responsibility. I think it's important that we all hold each other accountable for something. Everybody should have an accountability partner for whatever issue you have going on. For instance, I have an accountability partner for my eating habits. Like if there's a certain thing that I know that I cannot have because of whatever reason, then that person always checks in with me. Did you eat this? Did you have that? Okay, this makes you sick. This makes you feel this way, XYZ. Some people might have an accountability partner for drinking habits. Some people might have an accountability partner to make sure that they get all their assignments done and things like that. it is okay. It's okay to have those things. It doesn't mean that you can't control yourself if you need or anything like that. But it's just saying that, you know what, I know that this is not my strongest area right here. So I do need a little help in this area. I know that's not my strongest suit. So I can benefit from using an accountability partner. So it is okay. It's okay. You can't take on the world. You can't hold everything in. You don't have to be perfect. You can't always be right. And you should never feel shame about it. So it's okay to self-reflect and say, you know what? I overreacted. I could have said that better. Now, even if you're in a situation where you're trying to de-escalate things and things get out of hand, okay, walk away, cool off, but still have that self-reflective moment. Like, you know what? Yeah, I overreacted. I could have said that better. Even if it's the next day, it's never too late to at least try to make an attempt. Call that person back. Call your employer, your boss, whoever it is. Go to that client. Say, you know what? I'm sorry. Yesterday I acted, XYZ. And I shouldn't have. And I just wanted to let you know that I apologize. Now, whether they take it, if they accept it or not, that's on them. That's their problem, not yours. But you have cleared your conscience because you went and you apologized and you accepted it. So it is okay. Making better decisions when managing agitated patients and coworkers. We just have to make better decisions. How can we do that? Well, by asking questions. It's okay to ask your boss a question. It's okay to ask your supervisor. It's okay to ask your coworker. Questions are for help. It does not mean that they are better than you. It's just saying that, you're always remain teachable, which is also very important. How have you handled this before? I understand your concerns about the delay. I understand that you're upset. Is this something you prefer to talk about in a more private area? Can you and I talk? Are you okay? How was your weekend? I always try my best to start off my day asking the patients questions like this, especially how are you doing? How was your weekend? How was your day? Because it kind of breaks the ice a little bit. And again, who really wants to be put in these types of situations? Sometimes patients don't really want to go to the doctor. Patients, they don't really want to deal with a caregiver. They don't really want to deal with a nurse. Because sometimes they may feel like they are just a patient, but they want to feel more than that. So you asking them questions can kind of help build a different type of relationship with them. Kind of eases their anxiety also. Makes them a little bit more comfortable. So, ask them how was their weekend. Even your coworkers. That's another way to keep conflict down in the workplace, so that you won't have to be in a situation where you have to think about de-escalating. How was your weekend, girl? Did you go shopping, or what you cook this weekend? Just conversations. I think those types of conversations are very healthy. So don't be afraid to ask those not so personal questions, but something that doesn't have to do with work. Shut negative conversations down. You might think, how do I do that and still remain professional? Well, you can be direct. There's a way you can be direct and still remain professional and not be ugly about it. If a situation is making you feel like you are uncomfortable or unsafe, or you're doing something wrong, be honest and speak up about it. You don't have to engage in those conversations. Or make a vow to yourself. You know what? I made a vow to myself that I'm not going to talk about this type of stuff at work. I made a vow to myself that I'm not going to gossip. I made a vow to myself that I'm not going to engage in these types of um, situations, especially, with certain people. There's drama going on, ignore the drama. It's okay to ignore. If someone is starting something, you can ignore them and just go on about your workday. Ask positive questions, because if they're coming to you and they're speaking negatively about someone and they're doing it so much, so often, and so easy, then that is exactly how easy it is for them to go and talk about you. They probably already done it. So ignore those conversations and ask more positive questions. If someone comes to you, girl, April did this, April did this, April did that. Ask them, follow up with the question, and what did you do? Because that puts them on the spot. And it kind of tells them that, okay, he or she is not for it. And yeah, it might make them feel uncomfortable, but that does something for you. That's showing that you're not going to have this conversation. We're going to shut it down because this has a potential to end ugly. You can use a positive tone, positive voice, and positive body language. You can also offer guidance. If, someone is looking for help, then, offer them some help. Make some suggestions of, what they can do. Maybe go to lunch or something, and speak positive. You will not believe the amount of people that actually want that. They just don't know how to ask for it. It's okay to validate concerns and set those healthy boundaries. Be a leader. Offer support. Give suggestions. These are 3 great books that I highly recommend that you maybe add to your reading. It's also, reading is very helpful. It brings like a calming feeling to the body and to the mind. It also expands your brain memory. The first book, There's No Good Card for This. What to say and do when life is scary, awful, and unfair to people you love. This is the number 1 book that I really, really love by Crow and McDowell. These are stories of people like you and I that have been through stuff like this. And I know, you may be thinking, well, I don't want to read no book. I don't know to read no book and to tell me what to do. You would be surprised at the amount of information in these books. Also, don't sweat the small stuff at work. This one is really, really, really good. And the one by Roberta Chinsky, Can We Talk? 7 Principles for Managing Difficult Conversations at Work. These are 3 books that I highly, highly recommend that you add to your arsenal. That concludes our training. I thank you so much for your participation. Just remember those steps, those 11 tips for de-escalation. Remember to stay calm. Remember to listen. Clarify messages. Watch for the hand gestures and nonverbal communication. Remember to set those boundaries and remain open. So use these tools. I pray that it helps you, and we can always be better and remain teachable. Always remain teachable.